For 2 years, Marcus Thompson had been the invisible mall security guard everyone ignored, the guy who broke up teenage fights and helped lost kids find their parents. But what shoppers didn't know was that those same eyes that spotted shoplifters had once identified enemy targets from 1,200 meters away in Afghanistan as a Force Recon Marine sniper. Welcome to Secret Human Stories. Before I tell you this incredible story of hidden military expertise and split-second decisions that prevented a national tragedy, tell me in the comments if you or anyone in your family or circle of friends has military service background, and if so, what branch or role they served in. And if you believe stories like this deserve to be told, hit that subscribe button. Because sometimes the most dangerous threats are stopped by people whose lethal training is hidden behind minimum wage uniforms. Marcus Thompson was exactly what Lenox Square Mall needed in a part-time security guard. At 34, he was reliable, professional, and completely forgettable to the thousands of shoppers who passed by him during his weekend shifts. For 2 years, he'd maintained order at one of Atlanta's busiest shopping centers with quiet efficiency, breaking up minor altercations, assisting lost children, and ensuring that the massive retail complex operated smoothly during peak hours. The weekend security staff appreciated Marcus's unusual attention to detail and his ability to spot potential problems before they escalated. While other guards focused on obvious issues like shoplifting or loud disturbances, Marcus seemed to have an almost supernatural awareness of crowd dynamics and individual behavior patterns that could predict trouble. The mall management valued Marcus's professional demeanor and his ability to de-escalate situations without creating scenes that would disturb shoppers. His incident reports were thorough, his radio communications were clear, and his presence provided a calming influence during the chaotic weekend rushes that defined retail security work. But there was something about Marcus Thompson that nobody at Lenox Square could have imagined. The steady hands that adjusted his security radio had once held a Barrett M82A 3 sniper rifle steady while eliminating high-value targets in Afghanistan's most dangerous provinces. The observational skills he used to spot shoplifters had been developed during 8 years of force reconnaissance operations, where missing details meant dead Marines. From 2010 to 2018, Staff Sergeant Marcus Thompson had served with Marine Corps Force Reconnaissance, specializing in long-range precision shooting and intelligence gathering in Afghanistan's Helmand province. For 8 years, he'd operated in the most dangerous combat environments, providing overwatch for Marine infantry units and eliminating enemy combatants at distances exceeding 1,500 meters. Marcus's military record was exceptional even among Force Recon Marines. 127 confirmed kills, 89 successful intelligence gathering missions, and a reputation among infantry commanders as someone who could see enemy activity that satellite surveillance missed. He had earned the Navy Cross, 2 Bronze Stars with Combat 5, and the recognition of his peers as one of the Corps' most effective precision shooters. But Marcus's specialty hadn't been routine sniper work. His unique expertise was what Marines call urban reconnaissance and counter-surveillance, identifying enemy operatives who blended into civilian populations, spotting coordinated attack preparations, and neutralizing threats before they could harm American forces or innocent civilians. These missions required the ability to read human behavior, identify tactical formations, and make split-second decisions about genuine threats versus false alarms. The psychological demands of precision shooting were extraordinary. Every target Marcus engaged represented a human being whose death he would carry for the rest of his life, but also potential American lives saved through his actions. The responsibility was overwhelming, the moral complexity constant, and the emotional cost of 8 years in combat zones had accumulated into post-traumatic stress that made civilian adjustment difficult. Marcus's transition out of military service in 2018 had been challenging. PTSD, survivor's guilt from Marines lost despite his Overwatch protection, and the difficulty of finding civilian work that utilized his specialized skills without triggering combat-related stress responses had led him to seek employment in familiar environments where his hypervigilance could be channeled productively. Mall security work provided the perfect balance, a controlled environment with predictable routines, but enough human interaction and potential security challenges to keep his military-trained awareness engaged without the life-or-death pressure that had defined his combat service. For 2 years, Marcus had convinced himself that his sniper skills were unnecessary artifacts of military service that had no place in civilian life. But some training never truly retires, especially when it involves reading human behavior and identifying threats that others miss. And on Friday, November 26th, 2021, Black Friday at Lenox Square Mall, those skills would prove that some expertise is too valuable to remain hidden when hundreds of innocent lives hang in the balance. The day had started like every Black Friday that Marcus had worked since leaving the Marines. Lenox Square was experiencing typical holiday shopping volume, approximately 45,000 shoppers expected throughout the day, with peak crowds between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m., creating the kind of controlled chaos that retail security teams managed through careful coordination and constant vigilance. Marcus was assigned to the main concourse patrol, walking the central shopping corridors and monitoring crowd dynamics while maintaining radio contact with the mall's central security office. His responsibilities included identifying shoplifters, assisting lost children, managing minor disputes between shoppers, and serving as a visible security presence to deter potential problems. At 1:15 p.m., during the peak shopping rush, Marcus was conducting his regular patrol near the food court when his Force Recon training activated in ways he hadn't experienced since leaving Afghanistan. 4 men entering the mall through different entrances within a 3-minute window, moving with the kind of tactical spacing and situational awareness that immediately triggered his combat-developed threat recognition systems. The first indicator was their movement patterns. While typical shoppers moved randomly, stopping to look at store displays, checking their phones, or interacting with companions, these 4 men moved with purpose and maintained constant awareness of their surroundings in ways that suggested military or law enforcement training. The second red flag was their equipment. Each man carried identical black backpacks, wore similar dark clothing suitable for concealing weapons, and showed signs of physical fitness consistent with tactical training. Their positioning throughout the mall created overlapping fields of observation that could provide comprehensive surveillance coverage. The third concern was their behavior. None of them were actually shopping. They weren't browsing merchandise, making purchases, or engaging in normal consumer activities. Instead, they appeared to be conducting reconnaissance, studying store layouts, identifying security camera positions, and mapping emergency exits with the systematic thoroughness of people planning coordinated action. Marcus's sniper training had conditioned him to trust his instincts when observational data indicated potential threats, even when those threats seemed unlikely in civilian environments. The combination of tactical movement, professional equipment, and reconnaissance behavior created a threat profile that demanded immediate investigation. Marcus activated his radio to contact the Central Security Office. Security Base, this is Marcus Thompson, Sector 4. I have 4 individuals exhibiting suspicious coordination patterns, requesting additional eyes on subjects at entrance points Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, and Delta. The response came from Security Supervisor Janet Morrison, a retired Atlanta Police Department sergeant who had learned to trust Marcus's unusually accurate threat assessments. Marcus, what's your read on the situation? We're dealing with typical Black Friday volume, but if you're seeing something, I'm listening. Ma'am, I'm observing tactical movement patterns, identical equipment loads, and reconnaissance behavior consistent with coordinated threat preparation. These individuals aren't shopping. They're mapping our facility. Janet Morrison had worked retail security for 15 years and had learned to distinguish between paranoid false alarms and legitimate security concerns. Marcus Thompson had never generated a false positive in 2 years of employment, and his threat assessments had prevented 3 serious incidents involving weapons and 2 cases of organized retail theft. Marcus, maintain observation and provide real-time updates. I'm dispatching additional units to your location and contacting Atlanta PD for precautionary backup. Marcus continued his surveillance while appearing to conduct normal security patrols. His Force Recon training had taught him to maintain cover while gathering intelligence, allowing him to observe potential threats without alerting them to his awareness of their activities. At 1:43 p.m., the situation escalated beyond routine security concerns. Marcus observed the 4 men receiving what appeared to be coordinated signals through their mobile devices, followed by synchronized movement toward predetermined positions throughout the mall. This behavior pattern matched terrorist attack preparations that Marcus had studied during military counterterrorism training. The tactical deployment was sophisticated. Subject Alpha positioned himself near the main entrance, controlling access and egress. Subject Bravo moved to the second-floor balcony overlooking the central court, providing elevated overwatch position. Subject Charlie stationed himself near the department store anchor, blocking a major emergency exit. Subject Delta remained mobile, conducting what appeared to be final reconnaissance. Marcus's military experience had taught him to recognize the difference between potential threats and active threat preparation. The synchronized positioning, the tactical advantages of their chosen locations, and the coordinated timing indicated that these individuals had moved beyond surveillance into operational positioning. Marcus radioed Central Security with updated intelligence. Security base. Subjects have assumed tactical positions consistent with coordinated attack preparation. This is no longer a precautionary situation. We have a legitimate threat developing. Janet Morrison had already contacted Atlanta Police Department, but the response time for tactical units during Black Friday traffic conditions was estimated at 12 minutes. With 15,000 shoppers currently in the mall and 4 individuals positioned to control critical access points, those 12 minutes represented an unacceptable risk to civilian lives. Marcus, APD is en route, but we need to make decisions now. What's your military assessment of our options? For the first time in 3 years, Marcus Thompson was being asked to apply his Force Recon training to protect American lives in a situation where his specialized skills could prevent a mass casualty event. Ma'am, based on their positioning and equipment, they can control crowd movement and create a kill zone in the central court. We have approximately 2 minutes before they complete their tactical setup. I can neutralize the elevated overwatch position, but I need authorization and civilian evacuation support. Janet Morrison understood that she was authorizing a former Marine sniper to use potentially lethal force in a crowded shopping mall based on threat assessment and behavioral analysis. But she also understood that Marcus Thompson's military record, his 2 years of accurate security work, and the obvious tactical coordination of the suspects made this decision clear. Marcus, you are authorized to use all necessary force to protect civilian lives. Atlanta PD has been advised of your military background and will coordinate with you upon arrival. Marcus moved to a position that provided line of sight to Subject Bravo's overwatch location, while maintaining cover from the other suspects. His hands found the familiar feeling of controlled breathing and target acquisition that had kept Marines alive in Afghanistan, but now those skills would protect families shopping for Christmas presents. The confrontation began when Subject Bravo produced what appeared to be an assault rifle from his backpack and began targeting shoppers in the central court. Marcus's response was instantaneous and lethal, a single precise shot that eliminated the elevated threat before he could harm civilians. The neutralization of Subject Bravo triggered immediate response from the remaining suspects, confirming Marcus's assessment that this was a coordinated attack. Subjects Alpha and Charlie moved to execute their planned assault while Subject Delta attempted to coordinate their response to the unexpected resistance. Marcus's Force Recon training took over completely. Moving with tactical precision through the mall's service corridors, he systematically neutralized each remaining suspect using techniques designed for urban combat environments. His knowledge of the mall's layout, gained through 2 years of security patrols, combined with his military small unit tactics training to create overwhelming tactical advantage. Subject Alpha was neutralized as he attempted to control the main entrance. Subject Charlie was eliminated as he moved to block emergency exits. Subject Delta surrendered when he realized his entire team had been defeated by a single opponent whose military skills far exceeded their preparation. The entire engagement lasted 4 minutes and 37 seconds. 0 civilian casualties, 4 suspects neutralized or captured, and the prevention of what post-incident investigation would reveal to be a planned mass shooting, designed to kill as many shoppers as possible during the busiest shopping day of the year. When Atlanta Police Department tactical units arrived, they found Marcus Thompson securing the scene with professional competence that immediately identified him as someone with extensive military and law enforcement training. His incident report, witness coordination, and evidence preservation met federal law enforcement standards. The investigation revealed that the 4 suspects belonged to a domestic terrorist organization that had planned the Lenox Square attack as part of a coordinated assault on American commercial targets during the holiday shopping season. Their weapons, ammunition, and tactical equipment indicated preparation for a sustained assault that could have killed hundreds of people. FBI Counterterrorism Division later confirmed that Marcus's threat identification and tactical response had prevented one of the most significant domestic terrorist attacks attempted on American soil since 9/11. His ability to recognize coordinated threat behavior and respond with appropriate force had saved lives that no amount of conventional security measures could have protected. 3 days after the incident, Marcus received a phone call from Colonel James Mitchell, his former commanding officer with Force Reconnaissance. "Staff Sergeant Thompson, I heard about Atlanta. You saved a lot of American lives using skills we taught you to protect Marines. I'm proud of you." Marcus's response reflected the complexity of transitioning from military service to civilian life while retaining the responsibility that comes with lethal training. "Sir, I never wanted to use those skills again, but when I saw families with children in danger, I couldn't just watch. Marcus, that's exactly why we trained you. Not for the war zones, for the moments when Americans need someone with your capabilities to stand between them and people who want to hurt them." The conversation helped Marcus understand that his military service hadn't ended with his discharge. It had evolved into a different form of protecting American lives, using specialized training in civilian contexts, where conventional security couldn't handle sophisticated threats. 6 months later, Marcus received a letter from Rebecca Martinez, a mother whose 8-year-old daughter had been shopping in the Central Court when the attack began. "Mr. Thompson," she wrote, "Isabella asks me every day if the nice security man is still protecting the mall. I tell her yes, because she feels safe knowing that someone like you is watching out for families like ours." Rebecca's letter helped Marcus realize that his transition from military to civilian life wasn't about abandoning his combat skills. It was about using them to create safety, rather than just preventing enemy action, protection, rather than just eliminating threats. Today, Marcus Thompson works as Senior Security Supervisor at Lenox Square Mall, where he trains security personnel in threat recognition and coordinates with federal law enforcement on counterterrorism preparedness. He still walks the same corridors where he prevented a mass shooting, but now he does it with the knowledge that his military training serves a peaceful purpose in civilian life. The shoppers at Lenox Square now understand exactly who Marcus is and what he's capable of. They respect his choice to use his deadly skills for protection rather than aggression, and they appreciate having someone whose military background provides security capabilities that conventional retail safety measures cannot match. Marcus's story teaches us that military training doesn't disappear when veterans return to civilian life. It waits for moments when American communities need the kind of expertise that only combat service can provide. The Marine sniper, who once protected infantry units in Afghanistan, found a way to continue that mission in a shopping mall, using his skills to defend families instead of fellow Marines. Sometimes protection comes from eliminating enemy combatants in foreign combat zones. Sometimes it comes from maintaining peaceful order in retail environments. Sometimes it comes from using lethal military training to stop domestic terrorists who threaten American families during holiday shopping. Marcus Thompson learned to provide all three forms of service. The part-time mall security guard who used to be a Force Recon sniper became the security supervisor who still saves lives when civilian law enforcement can't respond fast enough and military-grade threats require military-trained responses. His eyes never stopped scanning for dangers, whether they were Taliban fighters or domestic terrorists. Marcus Thompson proved that military service creates lifelong guardians who continue protecting American lives in whatever capacity their skills are needed, honoring both their combat training and their desire for peaceful civilian communities where families can shop safely during the holidays.